All right, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gavin Nelson, technology intern for the school district. Today, I'd like to welcome you to our live Q&A town hall. With us this morning, we'll have all of our admin here for the district to answer your questions that you might have about the upcoming school year with COVID-19 protocols. For this live stream, we will have a live chat that you'll be able to ask questions throughout the morning, which Mr. Olson will then have admin particular to that question come up and answer those questions for you. We'll also have Susan Height, technology director for the district, moderating the chat. So please make sure you refrain from any vulgar language. You will be removed from the chat, as well as timed out is an option as well. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Superintendent of ISD 882, Mr. Eric Olson.
All right, well, welcome all of our staff here that are with us today. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your summer to be part of this awesome day for us to hopefully ease some of your angst or anxiousness and make sure that we leave today feeling a little bit better than maybe we started with. It's a crazy time right now, but yet it's a time that when we all come together, we're going to do many great things. So I'm going to just introduce the day a little bit further here, and then I'm going to have each add. Back early in the summer, and our commitment to you has been all along. So as we move, okay.
Yeah, my apologies on that.
Yep.
We'll start back from the beginning.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is take two, I guess. You might have saw me standing up here. Maybe my mouth was moving, but you couldn't hear me. So I bet that was fun for you. I just want to welcome everyone here today. I'm going to have admin come up and introduce themselves today because they are going to be a huge part of this, as they have been huge part of all the planning that's been going on. We've also been working with all of our union groups in order to get feedback, and leadership teams in order to continue to reach out to people to learn their feelings, to learn how they feel we could best solve problems. And we are all in this together, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that's got us to this point, where today is a day designed to answer, and for you to answer questions, for us to do the best job that we can to answer them today. If not, we will dig back in and we'll answer them further in the next days to come. So I would like to start off by just a little money and funding news, and it's really good news. We just were awarded an additional $1 million in CARES funding yesterday. And so that, coupled with the close around $1 million earlier in the year, or earlier in the summer, I should say, from the state, and then couple that with an amount that is still being worked on by the county, but an amount that should equate to another $500,000. All really, really good pieces of information, and more information on CARES dollars can be sent out in the future days. I know Clay Sawatsky did send out something earlier describing what it was and how it can be used, and those same principles are applied to the new source of money, but yet we'll continue to keep you updated on that. Speaking of funding, most special education funding sources, especially the state ones, will allow us to repurpose positions for the upcoming school year. So we have made a commitment to our employees all summer long that we want the employees that have been employed here, we want to do everything in our power to keep you employed here. And in order to do that, the new funding sources, special ed dollars being able to be repurposed for different types of jobs are all really critical in being able to uphold our commitment to everybody. So lots of good news coming in. On August 17th, we will begin doing our class scheduling, and I'm sure principals are just chomping at the bit to be able to do that because we normally have that done by now. But we need to have our student data which is generated from the family survey. We need that to have as our starting spot to get kids into all the correct programs and opt-in programs that we have. And so admin will be working on that on Monday. And then all of those decisions will start to drive the district's needs. So it'll drive our staffing needs across the district, both certified staff and non-certified staff. So after class lists get made, we will know where our students are in each classroom, where the IEPs are, and then we will start to build our staffing model with the needs of our kids. And then also there will be other district needs across the district after those decisions have been made. So food service decisions, transportation help, outdoor education, distance learning, and then all the traditional types of learning scenarios that we do have here. So our jobs upcoming in the school year might be different than they were last year. We have been noticing that, all of us in our district, ever since March hit. All of our jobs have looked different, but that's okay. It's redefining those jobs, repurposing what we were doing, and making things better with what we have in front of us. And it will be our continued goal to redefine positions to keep everyone employed. My favorite book right now, Grit. We're going to all need it. I'm only on page 60, but it's definitely giving me quotes and spirit to keep going, even when it's hard. With that, after that introduction, I will probably be done for quite a while because we have lots of experts here, including some union representation in our room with us. So I appreciate all the support and team camaraderie this morning. I'm going to start. We'll just make a snake through the building for the room here, but we'll start with Mr. Colwell and just come on up after the next person goes. We'll get a person on deck and we'll introduce ourselves.
I'm Matt Colwell, the assistant principal here at the middle school, and I'm representing the middle school this morning.
Good morning. I'm Barb Wilson, Director of Human Resources. Happy to be here, answer your questions.
Jeremiah Mack, Community Education Director, representing all the community education programs.
Good morning, everyone. Joe Dockendorf, Principal at Eastview Education Center.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gabe Hackett, Principal at Little Mountain Elementary.
Good morning. I'm Linda Borgening, Principal at Pinewood Elementary.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Foshing, Director of Teaching and Learning for the district.
Good morning, Tina Burkholder, Director of Business Services, representing District Office, Food Service, and Custodian.
Good morning, I'm Clay Norman, Assistant Principal at Pinewood Elementary.
Good morning, I'm Lana Talberg, Assistant Director of Special Ed.
Good morning, I'm Monticello High School Principal Mike Carr.
All right. First question, moderator.
We do not have one at the moment.
Okay. Sweet.
So again, viewers, please start pushing in your questions to the chat if you have any, and we'll make sure to answer them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from our group. Parents are wondering about outdoor classes and what those will look like. And I know you've said outside 70 to 90% of the time. What is a typical day of being outdoor in sunny weather, rainy weather, extremely cold weather, or cold weather, whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question. So our first question, I think you probably can hear it in here because that's why we're in the studio, but just in case you did not, the first question was about outdoor classroom. So our outdoor classroom is being planned by a team of people, including administration, and as soon as next week, after staffing models are made, we will add people to that team, including more teachers. One of the teachers that we do have on the team right now is Sarah Hagan, who has been successfully successfully taught in the preschool nature-based program for over a year now. And so what I'm going to do is kind of use her expertise as the model to answer this question. A typical day, the reason why that percentage looks so high is because they really use the weather as their guide, and they also have all the students prepare for all elements. And so we partnered with a company last year, and we will partner with the same company this year to get students and staff quality rain gear, because in Minnesota a lot of people have quality outdoor clothing, but it's the rain gear that they don't seem to have, and so that's one thing that we will do for that pre-K through 5 program. So yeah, they do go outside. If it's thundering and lightning, they do not go outside. If it's raining, they look out and they decide if they go out or not. But a lot of times, I know I visited kids, like she said, they just don't ask to come in, and we are going to try to keep up a model of around, depending on the grade level, but right now at preschool we use a 1 to 10 ratio, I'm sorry, 2 to 10 ratio, and then for K through 5, we're going to look in a model that will, older grades would be a 2 to 30, so a 1 to 15 ratio, and then it'll slightly decrease as grade levels go down. So there will be 2 adults on premise as a program parameter for all of our outdoor nature-based programs. So it's important to have 2 adults. It's kind of like when you go into the Boundary Waters or do things that are outdoor elements, you should do things with a buddy system, and that's how we're going to prepare this type of program. So they do go outside in the elements, but not such harsh elements that kids complain of. Last year, the parents just absolutely loved it. They do go home dirty. The kids are dirty, and the teacher says she's right in there with them. Her hands definitely get mud on them and things like that. So it's really using the elements.
Maybe mention that Crystal Bray, one of our current paraprofessionals, would be a good resource to ask questions on.
Mr. Dockendorf, who's been part of the planning process along with Ms. Foshing and Mr. Norman, just reminded me to mention Crystal Bray. So Crystal Bray is a paraprofessional, and you see her smile when you go out to that classroom environment last year, and they just really have a good time. So she would be a great resource.
I have a question from the group. How will security be provided, enforced at nature-based schooling? For example, at the buildings, visitors buzzing doors, locked, etc.
Yeah. So we're going to use signage around our buildings. So the buildings are our secure area. So each of the sites that we've chosen and partnered with, whether, and I sent out something this morning so you can see our partners across the community. But we have city partners, we have county partners, the YMCA and Lasadian Church. And what, I'm sorry, what was the question again? Oh, security. Security. Yeah, so security, we use signage. So the buildings are ours. There can be people from the public using the parks, but like I was talking with Sarah Hagan, the teacher from the preschool program, and she says, you know, there wasn't co-mingling last year, but signage helps that. Security protocol and safety procedures taught to the students, expectations are a huge part of the program, just like you have at in the playgrounds, and just like you have in unfenced areas, just like when you have go on field trips. But safety protocols and procedures are followed by students and enforced by the adults. walkie-talkies are going to be part of each program, so that each adult will have a walkie-talkie. And then, like I said earlier, not only do you buddy system with staff, but whenever you do projects and projects, you see 2 people moving from station to station. So buddy systems, protocols, procedures, signage, a resurgence or a partnership with the city and county to provide, drive-by types of support from county and school officials. Each building will have its own administrator, so there will be an administrator who has that as part of their duties, and this program will be well taken care of.
And continuing on, there's another question on the nature-based program. How many students are going to be allowed in the nature-based program?
Yeah. Right now, we're looking at around 250 students when we add up all the locations, and so and we know that we have a need for more, but we won't be able to. We'll have to use a lottery system.
And another question, this is in regard to paras. If as a para I get repurposed this year to a different position, will I get my current position back when we are back to all in-person learning?
All right, I'm going to have Barb Wilson come up.
Good morning. So I think the best way to answer that just goes back to a comment Eric made earlier in his presentation, which is all of our jobs are changing every day. So to the best extent possible, yes, we want to maximize people where their skills are and where they're comfortable with. But we also know that our needs are changing, and we may have needs for paras in different types of positions or locations. So we have to be sensitive to what our students need, and to answer that question better, we just need to get to the future. But we're with you, and we're going to do our best.
And another question related to human resources. Will those who qualify, will non-certified staff be offered an early retirement option as well?
Yes, we're working on those options right now. We have a meeting with Lori Stammer and your union reps on Friday morning. So the process is that we will offer up some suggestions of how we could possibly change your contract, but your contract, we have to work with Lori Stammer as your exclusive representative and your negotiating representatives in order to really put something forward. So hang with us, coming soon, and more news to come on that. So
One more for HR. With our lowered student contact hours, will our hours be reduced daily?
at this time, no, there's not a plan to reduce your hours, but you may have some additional duties. Obviously, if students aren't in the building, you're not going to be able to do what perhaps traditionally you have done. So you will have to be open and flexible and work with people to fill a variety of other needs that might be in the building. For example, we may need more people at drop-off and pickup earlier than you're used to coming to work. We're going to work with you on it. We're going to continue to talk about what those needs are and how those assignments will go, but we will do our best to honor the hours that you've been committed, promised, used to. Chris.
I have an additional question regarding that. So the question is, we know that para job duties are going to be different, and we normally have a start time that you meet, that you come in, your day starts at 7:30. So, example, will we need our start time be adjusted 15 minutes before?
Possibly.
Get ready for that day, and then adjust at the end of the day?
If your time was adjusted prior to the day, it would most likely be to help with student drop-off, is my guess right now. And again, we're just thinking these things as we go along. So it really depends on the needs of the building and what's going on with our students. We'll work with people on that, but those decisions will come also after next week when we have a chance to look at student registrations and we know who we need where, doing what. So there will be options that you'll have a chance to take advantage of too. So.
Another question. How will we train substitutes to fill in on our personal sick days, obviously our positions will look and be different from what we have done in the past.
Right, and our substitutes will be different. So right now, we're just attacking the substitute problem, emailing out to people who have subbed for us in the past, seeing who's interested in continuing, and then we're walking forward from there. So when you ask about training for substitutes, we will do what we've done in the past, as well as likely have some work around our COVID plan, our Corona response plan, just to make sure everybody's aware of health and safety, protocols, wearing a mask, things like that.
If I could, I'm just going to take that concept a little bit further, that question a little bit further. So when you look at, even though jobs are changing, I think we can look at other businesses, other schools who have already done summer school, and we can even look at our own school district and all the summer programming that we did. It's the word you'll hear a lot this year is reimagine, rethink. And businesses are doing that, schools are doing that, and the ones that do that the best are the businesses who will continue to be able to employ their employees, and the businesses that are not able to do that and get stuck maybe in trying to be the company that they were will be the ones that that you see with close signs on their shops. And we don't want to be that school. We want to be a school district that reimagines, that rethinks all positions, and are able to move our enrollment the right way. Right now, we, and as I work with building secretaries and listen to their stories, they're saying we're getting a nice surge still. And that means that we're doing the right things to prepare for the school year. But we can't prepare for the school year without all of us starting to reimagine, rethink what we're going to do next year, because it's going to take all of us.
And another question back on, about the, switching back to the nature-based learning. If the weather is severe enough that outdoor learning is not possible, where and what do the students and staff do?
Yeah, I'm going to call up Jeremiah Mack because he got a chance to run the only nature-based program that's ever been run before, and he was the administrator of the preschool one. And so I'm going to have Jeremiah Mack answer that question.
Okay. Currently for outdoor, we do have enough indoor capacity for students to come inside at the locations. On a normal day, they're just going to rotate through the indoor space as needed. Obviously, if it is too cold or you have to come inside for thunderstorm, lightning, whatever. We do have enough indoor space to accommodate, and then the teachers would differentiate their learning in those indoor spaces. That's why we have capacity set at each facility of what we could comfortably handle inside and still meet the needs and stick to our social distancing guidelines if we were in that format at that time. So they would just take and adapt to indoor learning at that time, and then as weather permits, they would go back outside. Even if it's extremely cold, they would rotate more through the building. They'd still be outside because students come dressed and prepared. The staff are dressed and prepared. They go outside, start learning. They come in and take a break. You don't want to take all their winter clothes off because it is a process. So they come in for short periods of time to warm up, and then they go back outside. Same with the rain. Everybody, for early learning, we could provide everybody a very high quality rain suit. So they'd stay dry all the time. They never got wet, and they didn't want to come inside. So if you're prepared to be outside, and the families that choose to be outside or want to be outside, they know the expectations, what the learning is supposed to be, and they want that. So the staff have to make judgments and rotate through the day based on what's going on a particular day.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Chris.
Okay, I have another question here. So if pairs aren't going to be totally utilized in the classroom, is there a possibility that they could be utilized in nutrition on days that you need to provide services off-site?
Yeah, absolutely. And that flexibility right there and that problem solving is exactly what we're going to need. Kind of connecting back to the question about how do we prepare for a sub. So I can see sub plans actually including potential 2 different types of responsibilities. So it could be like maybe a more normal student to contact position, and then it could include nutrition, and it could include safety zone. I mean, so really it could include 3 different types of things that maybe you haven't done before. The one good thing about another good thing about school start times changing is, and the length of day changing, is that we really should be able to offer a more of a teaming model for our paras connecting with special education teachers for when we're in person or hybrid, because I know our length of day used to be right on student contact, and that didn't allow for a lot of that. We had to make some extra arrangements to prepare to have that occur in buildings. So we're excited about some of the changes that we have coming.
And another question from a medical standpoint, how will medications, severe allergy, diabetics, and asthmatic health problems be handled being away from the traditional school setting?
All right, we have the school nurses too, but I have Barb Wilson here who's been working with the school nurses.
Well, so we're just starting to tackle some of the support staff that is going to be needed for the outdoor education. So I've had conversations with Tana and Monica, as well as some social workers that are interested in outdoor education and other things along that line. So we're still working to figure that out, but it is on our minds. So thanks for the question, and if you have an idea, share it. What are you thinking might work for that? But we are on it and open to continuing to figure all these little details out.
And another question for you, Barb, as well. Since the state of Minnesota is not requiring any special training for paras to participate in distance learning, how will you use paras to assist students and teachers with distance learning?
Well, the first answer to that is it would depend on your assignment. If you're working with a special education teacher, then the training that comes through Heidi and Lana is here as well. We did put together and pilot a training for paras that will be working with distance learning that covers some really key topics like confidentiality, professional dress, and appearances, and many of the things that will be new requirements of your para position. So Lana's here; she can come up and add some more detail to that. But again, assignments will vary whether you're doing distance learning or face-to-face. We'll all have some new trainings that we're going to need and some new awarenesses. So we'll work on it together. But here's Lana; she can add more.
So when you pilot something, you learn from that. And we did learn that the confidentiality, maintaining boundaries, all of those things were very important. But we also learned from that we need to provide some technology training in how to provide distance instruction. And so that will be part of the training as well. So we're going to go into just a little bit more detail in what the actual instruction will look like. And with special education, we're going to be individualizing the services for each student like we always do. And so we'll be going through each individualized plan case by case for the students. And of course, their needs will come first. And so if they're needing support from more than their teacher, we'll be looking at probably a specific group of paraprofessionals to train to do some of that distance learning.
It's more of a question for you that I'm getting from somebody. I'm assuming you can answer it. The question is, for masks, will kids in special education have to wear them, and how will we be enforcing that if they have to wear one? Also, will para be supplied face shields, or do we have to buy our own? And is that an option, or do we have to wear a mask?
So we've already been putting together, along with Barb Wilson, our orders for all of the PPE that's required, including face shields, including masks with clear opening that you can see through, including regular masks and some humanity shields, which actually cover all the way around. And depending on the level of need or the level of students in the classroom, that's how we will determine what types of PPE is needed. We're even ordering some jackets or smock-like things for people that would be around a lot of potential bodily fluid, and gloves. And so we're really being cautious of all of that. And as far as the staff, they're all going to be provided with what they need. As far as students, that is going to be case by case. We have to follow the law, first of all, and so anybody who's 5 and over has to wear a mask. Of course, everything's individualized with special education, and so we'll be taking that case by case depending on the student and what their tolerance is. We've already been working with a lot of parents to be practicing this at home, especially with our more severe population. They've been trying just little bits at a time. We may need to alter days if they're not able to. And then, of course, there'll be a few that just won't be able to. So it will be individualized depending on the students.
And a question for Tina. Will paras, when needed for kitchen, be required to have the point of sale training?
Good question. I believe if they are delivering food service, they will need that point of sale training, but those are details that I'll need to get with Sierra and who's doing what exactly.
And then switching gears back to the outdoor learning, how will placements be assigned distance learning, outdoor learning, etc.? Will they be assigned according to seniority?
Since this is a placement question, I can ask. I can start this, but outdoor learning principals come up here as well, because there could be some more about what they might be doing up there, etc. But as far as how people will be assigned, I can only tell you right now what the plan is for teachers, and I'm assuming that we will mirror this with our other support groups. But we took staff interest on the staff survey, so if you participated in that, we do have your name on a list, and as we create schedules, we'll be looking at who these people are and what their interests might be. From there, we will post for 5 days so that those who maybe didn't participate in the survey could indicate an interest. And then to the best extent possible, we would use seniority for paras, but we would do that with a caveat for, was it safe? One consideration we have to make in placing people in a completely remote or distance learning would be an accommodation that we need to make for a health reason. And so it may not always look like we are going strictly by seniority, but that is a huge factor that we will follow. And of course, we will work with Lori and your union reps to make sure the people that need to know are in the know of how those decisions are made and why. So we'll do our best. And if you have questions, ask. Ask your union reps, ask your principal, come and ask me. You know, we want to be able to make sure we have good communication and understanding, and we don't want any bad feelings out there. So the more we talk up front, the better we'll be with all that, so.
Barb, can I just ask one question? I'm sorry.
Doesn't anyone have a question for Claire?
Yeah,
go ahead.
paras here.
Yeah.
You talked about how paras will be trained for e-learning if the need is there. Would that training take place before school starts or after?
Well, right now, we're really looking at a dial-up kind of process for the first week of school. So we do have some additional time where you have hours that you will need to be in school preparing for the year. So this is, again, a first answer. And of course, things will come up that we will need to be flexible and adjust, but I think our goal would be to do as much training during that week when you are assigned days, but students will not be in the building. So still more to come on what that schedule will look like, but we do have some availability of time that first week to work with paras to get them trained for what we're asking them to do, whether that's point of sale training, transportation training, all variety of different things, so. Good?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And no other questions at this time. Oh, we just had a question pop up. How are secondary students going to be placed in groups A or B? Will it be alphabetically?
Alphabetically is the plan for now. We have to wait until all our students are in. We see how many are opting for distance learning, how many are opting for other things. Once we know our final numbers, we'll find a point in the alphabet where we can equalize the A and B groups. So once we have that information, we are going to get that out. So.
I have another one. It's actually for Lana. Okay, this question is based off of special ed students regarding their IEPs and how many days would most students be coming to school? 4, 2?
Well, you're going to love the answer, Chris. It's individualized. Each student will be unique. One thing that not everybody in the room knows, we're going to be rewriting plans for every special ed student. They'll be called contingency learning plans. We're working on trying to get the guidance out for teachers on how to write those and how to carry those out. The purpose in those plans is to develop a plan where they can weave in and out of the different scenarios depending on what goes on in our school, county, and state. But as far as individuals, we will sit down as IEP teams and or talk with parents over the phone and come up with an agreement that feels right for for each kid individually. And so, like I said before, some kids may have partial days and not even be able to handle full days or the full shortened day, and some kids may be able to handle much more. So the answer is it's individualized for each student.
Thank you. And switching back to paras, when distance learning, with distance learning, will paras be given Chromebooks?
As far as Chromebooks go with our paras, we do have some that, some models that we have been, cleaning up over the summer. So we can't make a promise that we're going to have one-to-one for our paras, but our paras who get into those positions who need them, we'll have them this year.
So the plan is, we do have some new equipment coming in for students in particular, and as we have to get those into the hands of our students and families first. So that's kind of our top priority, and then from there, we will really target the people, as Eric mentioned, that are in a distance learning support assignment, and we will do our very best to have things available as they are available. So again, that's where we are right now with that.
And switching gears again, what will C5 look like this upcoming year?
I put it on and I can take it off. Okay. So C5, for those of you that don't know, is our 18 to 21 program. It should look very similar. We feel that with the amount of students and staff that we have, we should be able to fill capacity. And so I don't think there will be much change to C5 other than community outings. And so we'll probably be doing a lot more in-house. That would be the short answer. But again, we're still in planning mode, and we don't know how many kids will actually be coming in because some are medically fragile and parents may choose to have them stay at home.
And a question for HR. What will the protocol be if we or someone in our immediate family has COVID symptoms? If it will require a 2-week quarantine, will we have to use sick and/or personal days?
Okay, so the first answer to that is MDH just updated their symptom chart, and that is available. They just got that to the nurses yesterday, so we will send an email out with this. This is just a variation of the symptom chart that MDH had out previously. So to answer your question about how you would use leave, the first answer is there is 10 days of emergency sick leave. That is that in existence until December 31st at this point in time, and we just have to watch what the federal government offers beyond that. Administration and the school board are talking about the possibility of more COVID targeted leave. It would be specific only for COVID-related things, but that is still in the works, and so you will hear more coming out about that, but that is a possibility. So basically after that, you would use your own accrued sick leave. And we're just going to have to work with individuals. We know that we're just starting, but it's giving us some cushion, if you will, to see what is the impact and what do we need to do and how will we navigate these things. So we're in the process of coming up with some alternatives. So.
Okay, question based off of that. So one of the questions is who's going to be doing the temps, and because we know the nurses can't do that for all of the students, so who's qualified to do that? Do you do it coming off the bus,
Okay,
in the
so
classroom?
Parents will be doing that at home, and they will log into, there will be a place on Parent Portal where they will need to check in at least once a month, and staff will be doing that at home as well. So it's only in the instance where a child would get ill at school where they would go down to the nurse's office as usual, and then they would have their temperature checked. But that is where we stand right now with a self-monitor, self-check process.
Okay.
I have a question in line with C5. Do you know what their hours would be? Would they run in line with the high school hours or closely related?
Yes, the plan is to keep schedules as consistent as possible for transportation, for staffing. Now there again, as Lana said, things are individualized. And I know we had people coming extra early to get students where they needed to be on time and different things like that. So within reason and working with the people that are on the team to do what's best for kids, yes.
And there are no other questions at this time.
I have a question maybe Eric can answer. If a vaccine were to be developed and, all would go right with the world again, and we could maybe resume more face-to-face learning and maybe try to get back to the traditional way of learning, would that move take place maybe during the 2020-2021 school year?
Sure, great question. Wow. You know, and I have amazing people that I'm here with today, and as I watch everybody and listen to everybody, I couldn't be more proud today, and that's really, you know, the strong leadership that we have both in the admin and then each employee group. We were blessed with absolute wonderful leaders, and so my question, I would take that question and I would bring it back to leadership, and I would ask ourselves, what do we need to keep? What's working? And we'll, you know, be practitioners of collecting data and make sure that we know what is working, what's not working, what do we need to keep, and what do we need to bring back. I think what we know in our hearts as educators is that we know that for most students, face-to-face, parent to student, teacher to student, are the biggest keys to success for kids, both in relationship, social, emotional, and academic gains. So would we go back to as much in person as possible? Absolutely, whenever the time is safe enough to do so. Yeah.
And a question back in regard to IEPs. If a child has an IEP for speech, would that child still receive speech services if they did the outdoor option for learning?
The answer to that is if parents were still on board with special education, yes, absolutely, they would get all of their services. What that looks like, we haven't determined. Some may be bused back to the regular building for that service, and some may get the service right out in that setting. So, but yes, they would absolutely get their services.
No other questions at this time.
I think what I'll do here is we just have a few more minutes. What I'd like to do is we'll just start by just going through each building and have each building kind of come up and just describe what their day is going to look like, and then they can intertwine the different modes of instruction when they do that. So we'll just take a couple minutes per building to be able to do that. So we'll start down with the EEC. So if we want to do a combination of Mr. Dockendorf and Mr. Mack.
What are you looking for exactly, Eric? What are you looking
Just
for?
what kind of the modes of instruction, so what the day looks like at your building, intertwine what it would look like, in person and hybrid, because they're kind of similar, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start.
Sounds good.
For Eastview, if it's either preschool or kindergarten, hybrid and in-person will be very similar. We have enough space capacity in kindergarten to have as much students. It'll just, at that point, it'll be down to spacing in the classrooms. For preschool, we've already just set our capacity limits at our hybrid occupancy limits, as we do have smaller classrooms, so we won't have to have a transition of how, the students' schedules won't change. We will just determine how much space they have. The preschool students will have lunch during their day. In the ones that are there full day, they'll have lunch in the cafeteria. The kindergarten students will have lunch in their classrooms. We also cut down on fewer transition times with specials and all that kind of stuff. Parent drop-off and pickup will all be at the canopy with busing in the back. We have staggered half-day times and ECFE times to eliminate as many contact points as possible for those families, so they come through at different times and don't overlap and have cross-contamination.
50-50 classroom? All right. Jeremiah did a good job explaining some of the nuances going on at Eastview. Two things I'll add. One is about specialists for kindergarten and some of preschool. We will actually have specialists where kids travel to their specialists on some occasions. On other occasions, we are going to try to be outside as much as possible where the specialist would pick them up, but that's going to be quite normal for the most part. And then Superintendent Olson just asked me to talk about the 50-50 classroom. A 50-50 classroom is a classroom in which we're going to have students and teachers hosting about 50% of their scheduled day outdoors. And I'm real pleased to know that we have a lot of teachers excited about this. Teachers are already coming up with mock schedules, what their day might look like, what topics and what parts of the day would be outside. I know we're doing that also in the other elementary buildings, some 50-50 classrooms. So.
And we had a couple questions roll in, if we can pause with buildings really quick. The first one was, has there been any thoughts about paras with 4-year degree getting their short-term SOB license to be utilized in other ways?
I'll just go ahead and step aside.
Although Mr. Dockendorf could answer that question very well, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is actually something that we will be reaching out to pairs with 4 years degrees to see if they would get a day-to-day teacher license. That would allow us some flexibility if there were absences. We do have other plans for substitutes, but I do think that that is one ready source of really qualified people that know our students that would be wonderful teacher subs on an as-needed basis. So yes, we would definitely hope that pairs would do that.
And another question for HR and our school nurses. If it was stated in a state department conference that COVID testing could take place on school grounds, is that the case here, or will parents be notified first and then sent to the hospital for testing?
As far as I know, we do not have any plans right now to do COVID testing on site. I think we would be sensitive about that, and it would really depend on the numbers in our county, the numbers in our schools. I think that, do you want to answer that a little bit more? But my take on that is that if we needed it, they're there to help us. We would work that through as it came up, but that our first option would be to just kind of do the school thing.
I know that as far as our staff goes, we do have, the state is providing a at-home test kit for us. And I'm also working with CenterCare to see if they could make testing easier. And so on Thursday, I should have the answer to that. That's when our next meeting was. They're going to take the week to dive into that deeper. So working with CenterCare as a collaborative partner, and then also the state has supported us through that endeavor with a one-time per staff member ratio at-home test kit.
Right. And then one more question before we get back to the buildings. Would the district pay for that sub-license, or would we be responsible for that cost?
That's funny. When that question came up, I turned to Tina Burkholder, business manager. I said, that's a really good question. And I know one of the barriers that we've had in our district is sometimes when people who do have that short call license and they work as a paraprofessional, they actually make sometimes less money, if I remember right, and so then they don't want to go do that teaching thing. So we will need to address that in order to maximize our employee skill set and licensure areas.
And as far as the cost of the license, we'll have to just be creative and try to work that out. I mean, I think part of it depends on how much usage that person has of it and things like that. But again, open to problem solving, just as Eric said about the wages. So we'll work to make this a win-win as best as we can. So.
No other questions at the time. So.
All right, so we'll have the elementary 3 amigos. Don't think you're not getting up there.
I'll start with Little Mountain. As we come into the building each day, we're going to try to keep in-person and distance learning in-person and hybrid as close as we possibly can as far as the schedules go. So when the students get to school, they're going to stagger off the buses rather than just opening the buses and let all the students come out at once. All of the grade levels will have their own door to come in and exit out of when they get back onto the bus. Breakfast will be served in kind of a grab and go, so the students will grab breakfast and then head to the classrooms. During lunch, only first and second grade will be eating in the cafeteria because we have enough space to spread everybody out. We can normally fit 2 grade levels in, we'll just have 1 grade level in, and then a period in between where we have time to sanitize all the hard surfaces and then have another grade come in. 3rd, 4th, and 5th eat in their classrooms. On the playground, we're going to set up different areas so the students can safely play together, and then we can become more restrictive if we move to a hybrid model. And then as far as dismissal goes, we are still working on how to do a parent pickup without parents coming into the building, so we're working on that currently. And then I guess the only other thing I would say for Little Mountain is when we move to hybrid, things can be a little more restrictive. For example, we can still fit all of the students in the building at 50% occupancy, but we're utilizing other learning spaces for the teachers, paraprofessionals, staff members to supervise students and have them still be a part of their classroom.
Pinewood agrees with what EEC said and Little Mountain said, except I haven't made a final decision on how lunch is going to look yet. We're still working on that. Our pickup at the end of the day is a little bit easier because we do have a safety zone, so that's not much as big as a concern as it is for Little Mountain right now. I agree, we're trying to keep in-person and hybrid as much as possible to look alike and using different spaces in our rooms and using our rooms in different ways. So I think we have a good start for a plan, and I'm excited for the school year.
And any other elementary questions can be directed straight to Mr. Norman.
Yes, I agree.
Good morning once again. I'm Matt Colwell, the assistant principal at the middle school. Thinking through the middle school now, in a hybrid scenario, that means half of our students would actually be in the building. So they'd be on an every other day basis, on A day, Mondays and Wednesdays, and group B on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Fridays would be open. Some students may be in the building, but it would be distance learning for most families. We are trying to keep our schedule very similar in a hybrid model as compared to an in-person model and even compared to a distance learning model or fully online or fully distance model. We are going to run our 7-period schedule One thing that'll be different is that students will be spending more time in M&M. We're really going to focus on spending time with our advisor. That's our advisory program, pretty significantly to start our day and end our day. And students will be eating lunch with their M&M. So trying to keep those smaller groups, which are only 18 students when we're all in the building. And so in a hybrid model, we would only have about 9 or 10 students per group. And the goal there is to really get to know each other well and build connections because of the need for that in the case that we are not in the building, or obviously in the building only every other day. Our advisors need to know our students well, and that's a big foundational part of the middle school. So there'll be more time traditionally, or more time now than we've traditionally had in M&M. So we're looking at staggering passing times, modifying how students get off the bus, finding places for them before school starts, because we do have buses rolling in well before school, and in ways that students aren't gathering in large groups. So the traditional model is kind of out the window, and we're rethinking everything we do to help our students stay safe, our staff feel safe, stay socially distanced, and that includes passing time, how we use bathrooms, and even at the end of the day. Could speak briefly just to activities. We are working hard to try and find a way to have some middle school activities that will not include football or volleyball right away. We're still looking into ways possibly to bring those back, but we're hoping to have cross country, girls swimming, those are both 7-12 programs, girls tennis, and boys and girls soccer. So we hope to run those here this fall. And our new activities director's name is Mrs. Spone, Bonnie Spone. She's working hard on that. And there'll be more information coming hopefully soon. Okay, thank you.
At the high school, we're looking at providing something for as many kids as we can. We're trying to provide those that are choosing to stay home and distance learning. We're going to provide that for you. That will look much different than it did last spring. Last spring, we termed more as crisis learning. We were thrown into that situation, tried to do the best we could under those conditions, and I do think our staff did it as well as anybody around. But it's going to look much different. We are going to expect students to check in to every class and get the instruction that they need, and the face-to-face time with our teachers. We think that will be a much more effective method of learning. And for our hybrid learning, we'll go with an A-B model. Kids will come in Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And we're going to look at keeping numbers down in each class to keep students safe. We will expect that masks will be worn if you are choosing the hybrid model. And that schedule will run from 7:30 in the morning until 1:45 in the afternoon. So we're getting out a little earlier to accommodate some extra busing that will be required. And we'll have 40-minute classes. But again, students here in the school will be expected to be in all their classes as they exist. We're trying to cut down on as much passing time as we can. Students are going to need to make good choices to stay safe and out of large groups. We know that that may be a temptation in school, but we're really asking for student cooperation to keep yourselves safe here. That's our number one priority, as it has always been, student safety, and we're going to work hard to provide that. Our lunches are going to be split. Our 9th and 10th graders will eat while our juniors and seniors will go to their homerooms. During that time, we're going to have programming provided for the juniors and seniors during their time in homeroom. SEL, social emotional learning, will be one of those things. We'll be working with students to check their grades. We'll be having other programming for them, safety presentations and that type of thing during that time. At halfway through that, we'll break, and our juniors and seniors will go to lunch, and our 9th and 10th graders will go to their homerooms and have the same programming that our juniors and seniors just got done with. So we're splitting that up. We're realizing that there are a lot of mental health issues that we're dealing with during these changing times. students and families worried about safety and the emotions of their children, and we're trying to deal with as many of those things as possible, which is why we are scheduling to offer more of that type of programming to our students this year as we go through the school year. So again, we're trying to be there every day for every kid. That remains our motto as we try to keep students safe in all facets of their learning. So we appreciate student support and student safety. We're going to rely a lot on our students to remain safe. So thank you.
Eric, can I just ask one quick question before you close? Just to reiterate, you said there was going to be a document coming out, like what would specifically take place if a COVID case was found in a classroom, correct?
Yep, we will, the Minnesota Department of Health continues to update their website, and we will continue to try put that as part of our plan, but it just was updated again last night, so we will continue to send that out. So, yeah, thanks. Yep, thanks, Bonnie. Well, we'll close our first live question and answer chat time here. So we thank everybody who participated. I thank the school district employees who chimed in with questions. That surely helps drive us be better. And I hope that everybody remembers the word reimagine and rethink. And that's what we're all doing right now. And we're working together while we do it. So thank you, everyone. On the count of 3, we're going to see if you're with us. We're going to do a magic clap. 1, 2, 3. Haha, everybody here was right on. I hope you were at home too. Awesome job, everyone.
Good job.
Yep. Thank you.